Good evening, welcome. It's all for United. We have managed to defeat the mighty Sheffield United, and we thought we'd come on here and brag about it. That's the nutshell. That's the point we've hit in our lives. We're coming on here and defeating a side that's going to be in the Championship without them needing to take us to extra time is deemed an absolute result, and so it should. So it should. We got a good win. And speaking of good wins, we had good wins with people replying to messages today. 3 people, all of whom replied first time immediately. No problems. It's great stuff. They were delighted to come on and talk about the joys. And just below us, we have got Mr. Andy Bean. How are you, sir?
All good. United win. Scousers lose. Sun's starting to come out as well now. It's just starting to look a bit better, isn't it?
Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. We'll see how it goes. But yes, the Scousers one was hilarious. That's for sure. Andrew, you were there at the game. Obviously, we will delve into that momentarily. But obviously, you're back. You're back in the Midlands. Are you well, sir?
I'm all good. As I said backstage, well, last night we got there in the end. It could have been a lot worse, but we'll say we managed to come through. So, yeah, all good.
Absolutely that. And of course, as ever, he is my right-hand man on my left-hand side. He is there. It is Mr. Dan Field. Are you well, sir?
I hate this job. Coming down with man flu. I can feel it in my throat. It's grim. So,
well, you're doing better than you were a minute ago. You lost your voice a minute ago.
Pray for. I reckon it's coming. Pray for me. I've just seen the Man City score out the corner of my eye as well.
It's a good job we're not due to have a show on Friday and Saturday as well, isn't it? That would be an absolute. Oh,
no, is that what we do?
You can't be able to Sunday down. So
I'll put it off.
Just saying. You need to
try. I'm back at work on Sunday, so it's perfect timing for a sick day.
Outrageous. Evening, JJ. Lovely to have you with us again. And he has kicked straight in. I don't think the football was all that bad to begin with, but just silly errors making it more difficult than it needs to be. Basically, what I would say is it's been the story of our season pretty much, hasn't it? So there we go. Well, it was, again, a rather interesting setup. Andy, again, I mean, you called it. You came into the chat after the FA Cup game, giving it the big one about how you told us all that Casemiro was going to be centre back. And there he was again. Were you happy with that as a decision? And how did you feel going into the game yesterday night, knowing that still we didn't have a first choice back four?
It is what it is, and it with the injuries. I mean, we just have to plod on with what it is. I think Sheffield United played into our hands a little bit. I think the game being in front of Casemiro helps him massively. As we saw with Coventry, when they started running at him, when they started having a go, he hasn't got the legs, has he? I mean, he turns like a bus. But yeah, it is what it is. I thought he did all right last night, but it's just a makeshift. It's just a makeshift centre back, and it is what it is. But I was right. You know, I'm having that one. I was right.
That's tickled me, that one. I like that. He turns like a bus, which is a danger. It does show why he has so many yellow cards. Because if you ever drive behind a bus, it always tells you about where the blind spots are, where you can't be seen in the wing mirrors. And that's obviously why Casemiro takes so many people out. Andy, for you, obviously, as we said, you were there and had the joys of watching all of that. I call it the joys. I think that is the right word for it. But you were there, quite happy. Again, aside from that, a fairly ordinary setup. Anthony on the right-hand side coming in, which was an interesting starting lineup with him and Christian Eriksen as well joining Kobbie Mainoo. What did you make of that lineup when the team sheet came out? Were you a bit like Andy below, just thinking, well, is what it is, you know, it's going to come out with what it comes out with. We can't really do too much about it. Was that the best team he could have put out against this side?
I think so, yeah. I'm just thinking with another wave of injuries, you know, with this high intensity training, Ten Hag's employing, so Cam Waller was once again had to miss out, Obviously, Marcus Rashford picked up a knock against in the FA Cup semi-final, which means he missed out. But I was thinking overall last night, did we miss Marcus? Sorry, no, we didn't. But yeah, I say defensively, it's what I expected as well. So, I say Ericsson, I thought was probably going to come in because, after the semi-final, McTominay was there. I think he was clutching his groin, so I thought he's not probably going to start the game on last night as well. So, and I say it was kind of like desperate for a win last night because we've gone winless in the last five straight games. If you include, the commentary game, it was we were drawing after 90 minutes, so we didn't win it overall in 90 minutes. But yeah, as was expected. But it was just kind of need to start getting some of these players back for the towards the end of the season, especially for that FA Cup final. Some of those players we wanted to chance to be in that showpiece final at Wembley as well. So, but yeah, overall, the line was expected, and I think it's going to go and say the way United started, we just were dominating the possession on the ball as well.
No, absolutely. And Dan, I mean, we both said that at the weekend that the FA Cup game was just one of those interesting situations to be in with Coventry fighting for something. Sheffield United weren't really. Sheffield United were a side that are struggling. They are. I've put them down as championship elect because legally I'm not sure I could write championship bound because mathematically they could still do the greatest of all great escapes. But I don't know if I kind of jinxed it myself. I was driving to work yesterday morning. And I'm thinking to myself, as I often do, this is a good match for us. If we can get into this and we can really, we could go for a bit of a statement victory, get ourselves a few goals. If we could get ourselves 4, 5, 6 goals against this side, it's doable. Get a decent little margin in there, start to chip into the goal difference, ensure that people like Chelsea have got no chance of catching us, especially after their 5-0 smashing. That goal difference could really start to go back and just help us to cement the position that we're in, because although it's not a trophy for finishing 4th, 5th, 6th really this season, ultimately you still want to finish as high as you possibly can. I actually felt that if Chelsea were to do well and finish above us, considering the laughing stock that they have been for the last couple of seasons, if we were to finish below them, that's a little bit embarrassing considering everything that's been going on. So did you feel that you picked the right team to try and achieve that, or do you think that wasn't necessarily on Ten Hag's mind and that at his position all he was thinking of was just let's get 3 points and that's all that really matters?
He always goes for his strongest team. I feel like that from what was available, that was his strongest team. He doesn't seem to deviate from that. It was nice to see some of the young lads getting a run out at the end, which I'm sure we'll talk about. I don't really see anything different in his logic. It's always the same. He's going to put his strongest team out no matter what, try and get the result, try and get a performance. The one thing the players can't say this season that he picks is that they've not been backed, because he's picked a lot of these players when most people would have dropped them by now. So you've got to give him his dues for that. I just thought it was an interesting game. I've seen a lot of the reaction on social media. I've got to say I don't agree with it in terms of performance. I actually thought it was quite good. We kept the ball well. It was, I would say, pleasing on the eye. Maybe not, because it's not. I'm personally not a huge fan of possession football in terms of I hate watching Man City. I know they're winning 3-0 at the minute, so it's a really bad example. But they pass teams to death constantly, and I just find it boring. I prefer to play basketball, football, where you end up winning because it's more entertaining. So it might not be, but in the position we're in, we did Sheffield United, but we should have done Coventry in the last 20, 30 minutes, which was just pass them to death and create chances from doing that. I thought the performance was quite good, but the lineup was really predictable. I mean, Andy got it spot on. Casemiro centre back. I hope I don't have to see him there again. Honestly, I don't think he did badly at all. He did quite well as a stand-in, but it's absolutely mental. You look at Man United's defence at the minute. We've got a left back at right back. Right back at left back. We've got a centre midfielder at centre back. We've got Wan-Bissaka, who just don't look at it at the minute. He looks a little bit off it in left back or right back. He just doesn't look like he's there. I think his future's definitely up in the air with recent performances. I don't think he's been great at all. And then Onana, who rightly has had lots and lots of praise recently for his performances, but then Onana does an honour of the Champions League, and then we're in trouble. But yeah, I thought the performance good. I thought the lineup was pretty much what you would expect from Ten Hag, which was the strongest 11 available. Be interesting to get Mr. Wall and Andy's opinion on Barry's opinion on the whole Ahmad Anthony thing. There was loads of criticism on social media about the fact that Ahmad had not started, and Ten Hag had said the day before that he deserves the minutes, he's just not getting them. So then why didn't you give them when you had a chance to? Is it favoritism? Is it protecting your assets for the summer? What is it? I don't understand. It's a change I definitely would have made. I said on the last show after the FA Cup game, Ahmad should start every single Premier League game from now to the end of the season. All right, I didn't even notice that. So JJ just made a point here. Anthony was booed. Oh, Anthony was booed as he was coming off. Ahmad getting the cheer.
I don't remember that. Well,
I can't say I heard
that. A cheer,
Yeah.
yes, but not Anthony being.
What I will say is, I don't know whether you got this written down for later, Barry, but Anthony was a very, very lucky boy before his substitution, because he does a really, really unnecessary tackle, and some referees would frown upon it. It's very similar to a Jackson tackle, which he got away with, but he just leaves his foot in for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So I don't know if we'll talk about it later, but he's lucky. But yeah, very predictable.
You can't count the boos if it's you.
It's building his team.
It's not allowed. You can't be sitting there going, boo, I heard that. Did you definitely hear nothing, Andrew?
I'm just trying to remember now. I remember that.
Because I've got to be honest, going to the Liverpool game, I barely heard the Liverpool fans. Barely. But when you go on to like Match of the Day, you can hear them. But from where we were, they could have been knitting for all I know, because I could not hear a thing from them until they took the lead. So is it a possibility it was just a small pocket that's near a microphone, maybe? Is that more likely?
Well, could it have been, just to throw this in there, could it have been the Sheffield United fans booing him for the tackle? Because it is a bad tackle. It's naughty. So I wonder whether they're booing him because he's being subbed. Because at first I thought, is he being subbed because they're worried about the tackle? But then it just turns out he was tired. So.
Well, Dave agrees with you. It was a nasty tackle.
It was, honestly. It was mischievous would be the word. Unnecessary.
Yeah. Well, I've written Ahmad and Anthony down, so we can, by all means, have a little chitter-chatter about what's going on with that. But as ever, we do like to just run sort of through the goals and things as they go. And Beanie, we have absolutely praised Onana. He's been superb as of late and has kept us in a ridiculous amount of games lately. People were calling it a howler. When I was looking at it on Twitter, they were going, it's an Onana howler. So when it came to looking at the highlights again, I was quite content to be expecting him to have done something like properly bad. And in the end of the day, it's a misplaced pass. It is. Yeah. But it's not like he's passed it to the guy and not paid any attention to who's there. He is aiming for someone. He's under pressure. He doesn't pass it out as well as perhaps he would like to. If you gave him the chance to do that another 99 times, he'd probably do it perfectly. On this occasion, it didn't. Is that just a point of, like I say, just the pressure there, or what? What did you make of that as an opening goal? Because again, once Bogle got the ball, that was game over there. He was always going to score, and that's exactly what he did. So, what did you make? First goal, was it a howler, or is that a little bit too harsh? Because I feel the word howler was a little bit too harsh, just a misplaced pass.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's just a little bit of a lazy pass for me. I think Dalot was a little bit flat-footed. If you look at the replays, he doesn't know whether he's coming or going, sort of thing. So I think I'd half blame Dalot there if it is a howler. But for me, the fact that we signed Onana for his distribution, I don't think we've seen that much this year. He's meant to be very cool on the ball. He's meant to be very confident with his passing. I don't think we've seen that much this year. And when I see moments like that, I always think of De Gea, that I don't know how better off we are with Onana. I thought that in the summer that the money could have gone elsewhere. It could have benefited the team elsewhere a little bit better. But yeah, last night I just thought it was a lazy pass. Yeah, you've just got to do better 'cause we're dominating the game at that point, and you just let Sheffield United in, don't you? There, another day, a slightly better team. They defend that 1-0 to the end. You know what I mean? And we struggle. Yeah, I think it's a lucky boy that we got back into the game as we did. But yeah, it's very lazy for me. That.
I mean, Andy Wall, he calls it a lazy pass, and I suppose you could say there's an element of laziness to it. And again, he's right to question the sort of the distribution side of things. But is this again a point of, number one, not having a consistent back four that's able to get used to these patterns of passing plays that might be expected? Am I being too generous? And I suppose even more importantly, in terms of the way the defence has been, we're still trying to play out from the back. And when we know we don't really have any patterns of play, and when we know that the majority of our good play has come from us being a bit more direct this season, is it, I don't want to call it poor coaching because that again seems a little bit harsh, but is it just the wrong decision? Are we going down the wrong avenue? It's a bit like one of those things where, like, I'll give you a really good example for this, okay? When you make fried eggs, you want a good fried egg, don't you? And Frylight is absolutely crap. Like, you try and make a decent fried egg with Frylight, it's rubbish. It's still a fried egg, whichever way you look at it, but it is crap. Now, you get yourself a proper bit of olive oil, something like that, so you've got a little bit of bubbling away. All of a sudden, your fried egg looks and tastes and comes off the pan a lot easier and all as a fried egg. So any sensible person, much like myself, ditches the Frylight for a fried egg and gets the proper oil in so that you can have a proper egg. Because what's the point in a fried egg if it's A, stuck to the pan, and B, not doing what you want it to do? Is this not the sort of thing Ten Hag should be doing? You can blindly stick with this passing out of the back if you really want to, or for the purposes of getting the results you need to get, you amend those tactics to go with the directness for now and start putting those building blocks in play when you've actually got 4 out of 4 fit defenders, not one.
I just think playing out from the back for this United team at the moment, they're not quite capable of doing it. Some players are getting lost in what they're trying to do. So is it some of the players that they need to move on, and Ten Hag gets the players in he wants that can do this, or trying to adapt those players that are still there and see if they can change it around? I mean, I think at one point in the first half, we've had over 80% of the possession, but we still conceded first. And I mean, the first goal we conceded, our older game, it was much closer run thing than it needed to be because of the 2 defensive lapses, of sorts, which we've seen from United all season. Okay, the first one's an individual error, so you cannot, which individual was at fault for the first? It's hard to make an argument against most of the blame being laid with Andre Onana. So, but who has dug us out of several holes in recent week, but he was the one that landed us in this time with his loose pass across the box. But you could also argue at the same time, Dalot's not especially quick at reading the intention behind Onana's pass as well, and he was slow to recover the loose ball, so he allowed Jayden Bogle to just pounce on the ball. And fair play to him, he didn't hesitate. He just hit back into the goal and put them into the lead. So, but I mean, for Onana, for this season, it's been a season full of highs and lows. But I think last night would have been a bit of a low for him. I mean, the reason we signed him was for his ball playing ability, and that was to replace, sometimes the error prone De Gea as well. And so we haven't seen too many errors on the ball this season, from him. But the one against Sheffield, it was a mistake, and we signed him on it because that's what we was wanting to avoid. So we'll be looking back on last night and today, going, the team came through and his blushes were spared. So one way, most of the blame could be going on him, but Dalot's got to read the situation as well. You can't switch off in games because even bottom of the table, Sheffield United are going to pounce on you. So any team in this league can beat each other on their day.
And they did pounce. Dave saying, it's like butter. What's the point of having it when you can't have it? Full fat layer pack for me. I've got to be honest, Dave, that second sentence has made my mind go boom. What's the point of having it when you can't have it? Well, I agree. If you can't have it, don't have it. What you want there is, I can't believe it's not butter. Other butters do exist, but apparently that's a mist. She can't have butter. I don't know. But there we go. Dan, for you, first goal, any change of opinion on how we are with Onana?
No, not really. He's done well this season. I would say that goalkeepers that play out from the back do that once every now and again. The difference is when Onana does it, he seems to just be punished. Like every time he makes that mistake or a ball goes short, he's punished where they score. David Ray has probably done that 20 times this season and not been punished once. He just seems unlucky that on the occasion he makes the mistake, the lad punishes him. I was more annoyed at his goalkeeping than the pass. He leaves his near post open, and it's going to be. I'm going to point it out because it's entirely frustrating. And the second goal we concede is similar. If you watch it back, Maguire actually goes to cut out the pullback, so he steps out. So Onana sort of doesn't cover his near post enough, and he smashes it near post. Now, just like the one time you probably don't even have to cover the pullback, so the goalkeeper can go to his post. You try and cover the pullback, but no, I'm not going to give him too much stick. It was just, I agree with Andy, a bit of a lazy pass. Didn't put enough beans into it to knock it to Dallo. But not too much of an issue, to be honest. It's a blip. I'm not going to have him over the coals for it. I'm sure he'll continue to do it, and hopefully maybe next time he doesn't get punished as much as he did this time, because he has genuinely been lucky with that. Mistakes that you've made have led straight to goals, whereas sometimes maybe you get away with it.
No, I think I would tend to agree on that one. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but obviously you see it's 1-0 and you just think to yourself, what is this team? What are we doing? Like, they're 20th in the table. They're going to the championship. And now we're 1-0 down. And, Andrew would be adding to that. And this has cost me a hell of a lot of money to be sat here watching this absolute tripe. And it wasn't tripe, to be fair, because possession-wise, we were smashing them. We absolutely took them to pieces. All of the stats in that respect do lead themselves to that. Obviously, you got Tottenham saying it was Sheffield don't get giddy with the possession and shots. It's not getting giddy. It's just the facts. They are what they are.
That was perfect timing, Barry, because he'd put that before you had even said it. He'd already put it.
Yeah, he knows. But the point was, we'd had them. And then that goal goes in, which just about sums up our season. But if there was going to be someone that pulls us out of the mire, who better than Harry Maguire? And again, there he goes, that beautiful head of his, just banging the ball into the back of the net. That's 2-2 for him. And it pulled us level, Andy. I mean, honestly, I'd give him another 4 years, I say, because like the guy has just stepped up. And again, I'm going to say it again, his attitude is just spot on. It is just what we need if we're going to rebuild this football team. No?
Which one are you going with, Andy? This one or Andy that one?
Yeah, all right. We'll call you Beanie. We'll call Wally Andy. And we'll call Dan or you. All right?
That's good. So we're going with Andy?
Yeah, I'll go with you. You start.
With me, okay.
As you speak.
Yeah. I thought he was a good header, to be fair. I thought he took it really well. I've got a lot of respect for Maguire, to be fair. From where he was last summer, we was all like, no, send him to West Ham. He's our only fit centre-back. He has been for a few months now. He's the partner he's playing with changes constantly. And he's solid, isn't he? He's just constantly solid. I say it quite a lot on my TikTok page. I find Maguire a very good defender. He's not very good with the ball at his feet. He's not good playing all this tippy-tappy stuff. But he very rarely gets beat in the air. He's a good old-fashioned defender for me. And I'm happy that he's starting to put performances in. 2-2, like you say. Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Maguire. And he's one of the players I'd keep. I think we could go a lot worse than Maguire, to be honest. So, yeah, I'm happy for him.
You say that he's not very tippy-tappy, but I've seen him have quite a few runs with the ball.
Yeah, I think
into the opposite
long balls. I think he's very good.
Oh.
But if he's playing it sort of around himself, I think
Yeah.
he's very nervous.
That's fair. I can go along with that. Andrew Wall,
Yeah.
give you your full name.
Yeah, that just caught me off guard there. You did. Yeah, I mean, say Harry Maguire once again to the rescue. I mean, the free kick, that came in was a bit overhit. So then Garnacho retrieved it and then hit it back towards because we just get the ball back in the box and then Maguire got his head onto it and so very crucial. I'd say back amongst the goals against it. Maguire is, scored at Wembley too. So, another header as well. So it was a vital goal, just before half time and a huge point in the game as well. So I think for Maguire, just think how far he's come since the start of the season. I'm going to say he's probably a bona fide a fan favourite at the minute. So he's literally, turned it around. Because I think I've said it, and maybe a few others. We thought more like in the summer he would move on, but he's stuck in there. And like even when he's been in and out the side, he's like, well, I'm going to prove to Ten Hag I can get back in. And even when he's like the last injury he had, so it was like, well, yeah, came straight back in. And like I say, like the game against Wembley as well, he literally ran his socks off, even though he hadn't trained all week as well. It was like, and then he only had about a couple of days rest and still doing some training as well. It was like, and then you put in another 90 minutes. And I'm just like, let's say he's pulling out all the stops in the minute, and I'm glad he was there to get us back into the game last night.
Okay, don't have anything to say about Harry. So Beanie will come back. I'm joking. He missed the show the last time we had the chance to talk about Harry Maguire. Dan, do you feel vindicated, justified, I suppose, in terms of how Maguire's been playing? Because I know, I've never been anti Harry Maguire, as you well know, but you've been vocal, mainly because you do the talking and I just do the hosting. So as a result, I don't really get the chance to be too vocal. But you're a vocal advocate of what Harry Maguire brings to the team. So are you feeling quite vindicated with how he's been performing since he's been forced to start the games?
Yeah, very much so. I think I deserve it more than anybody, to be honest. When he scored that header yesterday, I was doing a little jig in my chair. Just to mention to Beanie, Harry Maguire's right up there for ball progression and pass progression with the football in the Man United team. He misses, and he's missed for a while. We haven't got a press-resistant player. So we haven't got a player that he can play the ball to, that he knows he's going to resist the press and get out of it. And it is massive for the way Ten Hag wants to play football. You need a press-resistant player. Liverpool have got one. Arsenal have got one. Man City have got about 5. You need that player for that type of football. I just feel vindicated because what he's doing now is not different to what he was doing last season when he got picked and when he played. And that's why whenever he played, we tended to win. And that's why we got to semi-finals and finals, because he started all the games leading up to those. Whenever he played, we seemed to do well. Ten Hag didn't trust him. And I'm going to really flip it here to come across as really strange. But you've got a decision to make now in the summer. I personally agree with Barry in the sense of him and McTominay have shown they've got the absolute balls to play for Man United, and they should remain in that dressing room. Again, I'm not saying they should be starters. I'm just saying they should remain in it. They've showed everything you need to be a Man United player. But do you sell Harry Maguire now on this bubble because he's played really well this season? There'll be teams looking at it. West Ham in particular will be looking at him saying, yeah, he's worth 40 to 50 million. So do you sell him at this point? Because this is probably the last chance you've got of getting any money back from Maguire. If you don't, you're keeping him for the next 4 years. So you've got a big decision to make there. I know what I would make, but it'd be interesting to see what Ten Hag does. But yeah, he finished like a striker as well. What a header that was. I'll be honest, I was a little bit worried when it went in. I did my little jig in my chair and I was happy, but I was a bit, is he offside? I'm not sure, because he just seemed to get there ahead of everybody in terms of and I didn't know whether Garnacho had got back a bit too far, but when it came up and they were checking, you could clearly see it was onside. So it took a bit too long for me. I was a bit like, oh, I hope they're not finding a reason. But no, I thought he was a great finish. Maguire's just going from strength to strength. He's still, I think the best thing about the whole Maguire thing is he's not micro-analysed anymore. So he does make mistakes still, and he's still making mistakes that he made last year and the year before, but they're not all over Twitter as memes anymore because his performance level and his attitude has meant it's gone away. And this is to just compare it to the Rashford issues at the minute. This is what Rashford needs to look at. He needs to try and shut everything out and take example from somebody like Maguire that you can get past it. Honestly, I did. I thought it was offside. I'm glad it wasn't, but I did think it did go through my head a little bit.
Well, there you go. Well, it didn't remain 1-1 for long. Because obviously we got into the second half. And then just for good measure, because everybody in the world knows how to score against Manchester United, it takes me back. I used to play quite a lot against my nephew on the FIFA games, and he hated me. He hated because he'd play it every week, and every week he'd go off and he'd be practicing these skillful shots from outside the box, trying to smash the ball into the back of the net, always telling me how good he was. And then I would come on and I would literally just pass him off the park, get to the byline, pull the ball back when the goalkeeper comes out and shoot into an empty net. And every time I did that, he goes, "You're so sweaty. You're such a sweaty. That's ridiculous." And I was not bothered because the aim of the game is putting the ball in the back of the net, and that's exactly what I'd done. Watching Man United is like watching myself play FIFA because people do that, pass the ball, get to the byline pretty much, put it back, goal. And there we are again. When do you think, Beanie, we are going to work this out and actually put in something that helps us to actively defend this way of attacking? Because I've got to be honest, I don't know if I can take much more watching the same thing happen week in, week out, and I still just letting, yeah, go on, kick it. Why not? I mean, what's the worst that could happen? We've got a massive goal difference.
Yeah. It feels a little bit like we're winging it, doesn't it? I don't like bringing it back to Ten Hag and stuff like that. But, yeah, I mean, defensively, I think we wing it going forward. I think we're looking for moments. We overpass it sometimes. Our wingers constantly cut it back. Yeah, you question what they're learning on what they're doing on the training pitch. Yeah, I don't want to bring it back to Ten Hag, but for me, it's a management thing. Yeah, we're a bit too tippy tappy at times. They don't know when to pull the trigger sometimes. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just think we're winging it and we wait for moments in games. Like with Bruno last night, I just think we're waiting for moments all the time. I don't think it's down to tactics. I don't think it's down to us doing anything particularly great. Yeah, and it'll be to our detriment, I think, in the long run.
I mean, Andrew, you must have seen these. I mean, you've seen it happen now. I would wager that in all of the games you've been at, you've seen a goal like that against us in virtually every game that we conceded a goal in. And you must be able to see it. Like, the defenders must be able to see it. They must know that this is happening. How is it, do you think, that teams are able to get around us? It reminds me again of the old England song, you know, you got to be slow and fast and play it, but get round the back.
Yeah.
Like, I just hear John Barnes in the ear every time I'm watching it, only I'm not finding the song very interesting. I just want to throw Alexa out the bleeding window. So what do you do? How do we stop it?
That's a good question. I mean, the half-time break did little to fire up the Reds, and we soon, 2-1 down then. So, and it's been a common theme throughout the United season, and it's one that's not going away. And these conceding goals from cutbacks. You see it from the very first goal of the season against away at Tottenham. The problem has just reared its ugly head again and again and again. And it's like, yes, the amount of disruption of the injuries, of course, particularly in our defence, it's not cannot have helped the understanding. But when Gustavo Hamer's just dragged 3 United players with him before he turns and plays the ball to Ben Osborne down the left, you knew exactly what was coming, and it's just a persistent issue. And it's just like, at the moment, it doesn't seem that there's a sign that Ten Hag's fixing it. So it needs to be addressed as soon as, but it's not happened. So it's just, I don't know when we get a more solid event when those players come back, you know, a better understanding. But something's, you know, got to change. So yeah, it's just, yeah, I've seen too many goals this season, especially at Old Trafford, where cutbacks are just leading to the opposition score, and it's just, if we can see it in the crowd, then why the players not seeing it? And you know, why is Ten Hag, you know, it's happened far too many times now. It's like, I'm sure he's analysing all this, but he's shown, you know, he's not fixed the problem yet. So if he doesn't, then we're going to keep going down the same route all the time.
Yeah, well, maybe one day Mr. Ten Hag will take him out there and go, boys, we've conceded quite a few goals like this. Any danger we could stop bloody doing it? But I don't hold out much hope for that, to be honest with you. Dan, I mean, again, if we had £1 for every time we mentioned it, we'd probably have enough money to purchase StreamYard. Is how it feels. What on earth are we doing? Because to be fair, it wasn't down the left-hand side this time. As in our left, so that was a change at least. It was coming from a different direction. But again, just a little pass into the box, easy finish. I mean, what did you make of the goal?
It's not just Ten Hag. I agree. We Andy Ten Hag's obviously responsible because tactics and stuff like that. But it's not just Ten Hag. This is any footballer in the dressing room that understands the game should be pinning the centre midfielder, centre back, right back up against the wall, saying there's a massive gaping hole there. Why are we not filling it? I'd imagine if Roy Keane was this far into a season with the team conceding that goal every time, he'd plonk himself there every single time and he'd take a bit of responsibility. It just seems like, not that they're passing it off, but they don't understand what they're supposed to be doing. But it's interesting that it's come down the right-hand side. That was the only difference. But again, if you watch Maguire on this one, this time he starts to cover the inside, expecting the shot, and the pullback happens, and Christian Eriksen, and I don't even know who the other midfield was. Who else played in midfield yesterday?
Mainu.
Oh, okay, yeah, Mainu. So Eriksen or Mainu should really be there because it's the job to cover that gap, or your centre back should be stepping up. But it's been a problem all season. It's baffling that no one's mentioned it in a team meeting, in the dressing room. It can't be a tactical thing because we've seen it doesn't work. So there should have been an adjustment somewhere. There's a lack of communication somewhere. And genuinely, we had this problem when it was Dyer in goal as well. The defenders get attracted to the line too much, and I think it causes a problem for De Gea and Arne. It's not a good thing. They need to snap out of it quickly. We can't keep conceding like that. But how many times have we said that this season? It's definitely going to happen again, isn't it? Like, no one's going to stop it. It's definitely going to happen again. But I'll be honest, at 1-0, I was absolutely baffled out it was 1-0, and at 2-1, I was absolutely baffled out it was 2-1. Sheffield United didn't really do anything of great note, in my opinion, but somehow they found themselves 2-1 up.
No, I think that's pretty much how I saw it. But then thankfully, the game started to swing, and it started swinging in part again, thanks to Harry Maguire. Now, Andrew, I'm going to come to you first on this one due to the fact that you are eyes in the stadium, because the question is twofold. Actually, it's threefold. Number one, is it a penalty? Because obviously Harry Maguire gets pulled down. I've got to be honest, having looked at it myself, quite soft. But we get the penalty. Number two, Diogo Dalot is, really angry because the ball ends up in the back of the net. So he wants the goal. So is it right that we should be getting a penalty when the ball's in the back of the net? Should that really work? And the number three, what a finish by Bruno Fernandes. There was never really any doubt the minute he stepped up was there. So take it in that order, please. Was it a pen? Should the goal have stood? And how bloody good is Bruno?
I was going to say, when it was happening in the stadium and when the ball hit the back of the net, I was like, yeah, it's a goal. And then I thought, what's the referee pulling it? But I thought, was he just confirming it's a goal? And I was like, why is it a penalty? And then I see Maguire being pulled down. I was just like, but I think the referee blown his whistle straight away. I was just like, well, we had the chance to score, and Dello thought he had all it was his touch or it was an own goal, but the referee pointed his whistle to the spot. But I'm just like, I thought still down that yes, probably was a bit soft, but the thing is, we see that in like other games, and they're not given. And I'm just like, it's the consistency. You'll see something blatant, being pulled down, or shirts being pulled, players manhandled, but nothing's given. And sometimes it's the softest one, and you get it. And I'm just like, it's the consistency. But yeah, I just thought, why didn't he just allow the goal? We just scored, and then I thought, well, now Bruno's going to take the penalty. There's 50-50 chance he's either going to score or he's not going to miss. So I was just like, but luckily he did, and he just stepped up and smashed it in as well. And he literally just then grabbed the ball after that, and it's like, let's get going again, because he knew that we couldn't rest on that. We needed to get ahead ahead of that, because I think immediately after he scored, Sheffield United had that other chance as well where they could have scored, and where the ball, where he thought it was going one way, went the other. It was like it was going to land up in the goal again. So, but yeah, it's just one of those. But I say, where would we be without Bruno? As I say,
I mean, this is it, Beanie, isn't it? Because to me, I've watched that back quite a few times now. I just don't really see the penalty. Like, I honestly think the refs got that wrong, and that it shouldn't have been a penalty. Now, I'm not going to whinge, because we've been given it, and as Andrew says, we've missed quite a few of those this season. But it's galling, isn't it, when you see the number of penalties we probably should have had that were actual fouls, and you look at something like that, which, I mean, Harry Maguire's a big bloke. There's no way that's a penalty, really, is there? Or do you think I'm wrong? I don't know. You tell me. Let me not put words into your mouth. What do you reckon? There is a pen?
I thought it was very soft. I mean, was it Luton? Might have been Luton at Old Trafford, where Maguire was getting pulled all over the shop in the penalty area, a lot more aggressively than that one as well. And I don't remember either of them getting given. But I was saying to the wife as we were watching it, it would have been very interesting if they didn't give the penalty, but we'd scored. Like, what are they giving then? Because they're not giving the goal because the ref stopped the play. It makes it very grey. Then it's like, why don't you let the play go, and then if it's a foul, you bring it back like an offside or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, Bruno, when he's got the ball in his hand for a penalty, there's confidence in there. I mean, I think he's scoring every time at the minute. I see a lot of United fans think we should be selling him, but man, we'd be a hell of a lot worse off without him in our team. He carries us so much in games, and yeah, I think he's very undervalued by us, very underrated, underappreciated by rival fans. His stats, his numbers, I don't think there's a midfielder in the league that's done better numbers than him this season with goal involvements. Yeah, the hate he gets, I find staggering. But yeah, he was always going to put that away for me.
Yeah, I think so too. And so I'm saying the whistle blew as the ball went in. Well, like you say, it's for me, that just seemed very, very bizarre. But ultimately, Dan, it was something we needed to get us level and give us the ability to then eventually pull away. But for you, was it a pen? You've been vocal about penalties and officials and VAR. I mean, we've got to be honest, haven't we? If that was the other way around, you'd be fuming right now, wouldn't you?
Stonewall pen? No, I'm joking. The reason they've give it, and I'm not just saying this, is because in the first half there's an incident where Maguire is rugby tackled to the floor, 2 arms around him, and they don't give anything. And then literally just at the end of the first half, there's a cross coming in, and Casemiro's had his shirt taken off, like fully taken off him. You can see like pull and everything. And they don't give that easy either. And I genuinely think that as they were going off, Casemiro, Maguire, whoever, has chipped at him a little bit. You need to be watching. They're pulling me everywhere. So I think Aaron Maguire's conned the referee a little bit. So he's sort of felt someone grab round him and he's gone down. It's not a penalty for me. There was one in the Newcastle game, Newcastle Palace. Will Hughes, he slightly touches Longstaff, who takes 2 steps and chucks himself on the floor. and the ref doesn't give it. And that's what I mean by contact should remain in football. We've seen too many penalties given this season for stuff like that, where there's not enough contact to actually get a fully grown man to the floor. So it shouldn't be a penalty. You should be allowed to still use a little bit of strength in football. It's not basketball. But I think Toowoomba said that it looked like it was in as the whistle went. I think that's what they was checking. I think it was actually checking to see whether they could give the goal. Because I think if it would have gone in, I think they might have given it if he'd not blown his whistle in time. Remember something similar happening to, is it De Gea against Arsenal? The shot and he was on the floor.
Yeah, the man down.
The whistle had gone, yeah. And they give the goal because they had not blew the whistle. So I'm wondering whether they was checking that. I thought it was. I really did think it was a soft penalty. But honestly, Andy said 50-50 for the penalty. Not for me. Bruno Fernandes, probably about 90-10. Absolute sensational penalty taker. Can't ask for more. I can only ever remember him missing one. That was against Villa with Martinez saving it. I can't really. None other jumps to my head. There might be another couple or another one, but none jumps to mind. Yeah, I thought it was soft, and I would definitely be complaining if it was the other way around. But ultimately, they should have just let it play on because we scored anyway.
Very true indeed. Now, I know that Beanie's already given us his passioned speech about Bruno Fernandes, but this is turning into Toowoomba being our fifth panel member here, because I've got 5-starred messages and all of them are currently from Toowoomba. So this will be entertaining. Now, first thing he threw out here was this. I think the captaincy does something to players. We should scrap it. That was his first dig. And, you know, you look at that and you think Eric Cantona, Brian Robson, Roy Keane. I just don't agree the captaincy necessarily does something to you. And then, of course, he responds to what Beanie said a moment ago. Bruno carries us. He contributes here and there, though. But he hasn't been all that just this season, just an opinion. Now, of course, you're absolutely 100% allowed that opinion. Nobody here is going to tell you otherwise. But I would just like to point out a little bit about Bruno Miguel Borges Fernandes, because this guy has, well, like you say, his numbers are just insane. He's played 229 games. And in those 229 games, we've won 125 of them. That's a 55% almost win ratio. We've drawn 48, we've lost 56. In the time that he's been there, in those 229 games, we've scored 409 goals altogether and conceded 279. Out of those 409, he has scored 79 of them. Now, say what you will about him, we've got a fair few players who've played for this football club. We're going to talk about Ethan Wheatley and his 250th academy player to make it through. We haven't yet reached 1,000 players who've played for this fine establishment of a football club. Bruno Fernandes, with his 79 goals, now ranks top 30 players for goals scored for this football club. He is only 11 behind Anthony Martial. And Anthony Martial's job is to actually score goals. Bruno's is not. This doesn't include the other things that he does, the assists that he makes. Now, Bruno Fernandes, you talk about doing things, the captain's armband doing things. He broke his hand against Coventry. And he still turns around and goes, no, I want to play, boss. I want to be on that pitch. I want to lead. I want to do what I do best. And I want to be out there. Against Sheffield United, it's a nothing game. We're not finishing in Europe. It's nothing like that. He still goes out there and does the business in the manner that he does. For those that are unsure what sort of level those beautiful goals put him to, he's 3 behind Eric Cantona and he's beaten Frank Stapleton. Does Bruno carry us? Yeah, I think he does. When you consider in the time that he's here, he's caught up with Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford. I mean, granted, Marcus Rashford's 131. He's a little bit further forward, but he's had a bit of a head start, I think. Andrew, it's a bit of tosh, really, this, isn't it? It's become fashionable to have a go at Bruno Fernandes for some strange reason. I don't know if it's because Kevin De Bruyne turned around and said he's the best midfielder apart from me in this league, and that as a result, all of the opposition fans are about to go, oh no, Martin Odegaard's better. Oh God, no, Paul Merson is a better one. I don't know what it is, but it has become fashionable now to just have a go at Bruno Fernandes, when the actual truth of the matter is that he's by far our best player.
I was going to say, as I said earlier, it's like, where would we be without Bruno Fernandes? I mean, it's like 7 goals in his last 6 league appearances, with at least 1 in all of his last 4, Yes, being United captain can be, sometimes be viewed as a symbol of this side, and obviously this side's not, lately been not playing in a good way. It's characterised, as sometimes rash, impulsive. Tries to do everything a bit quick. He moans, he complains, but when things are not going, his way or the team's way, but. I think people overlook his importance to United, that everything United does as well. He's willing to take responsibility and basically carry this side when Ten Hag's needed him to as well. So, and he's perfectly done that in recent weeks. He's uplifted some very mediocre performances we have, probably more so than last night as well. So with that coolly taken penalty and the superb second as well. So his recent run of form, he's dragged his teammates along with him during these games, and you can see why Ten Hag gave him the armband, and he's repaying his faith in him as well. So I just think, Fernandes, he's got a goal contribute. It's his sister as well. So yes, you can sometimes cut a frustrated figure, which has been recently, but his performance in recent games, I'm sure something he'll want to smile about, and seems like he's enjoying his football more and more as well. So watch out on Saturday against Burnley as well. I just think also on Bruno as well. I'm just thinking, I was reading earlier, it's like some bizarre narrative around him as well. So if you listen to some fans and the media, you think he's not had a good campaign. And I think when saying coming up, Player of the Season awards at United, he's probably going to edge Dello in the Player of the Year conversation. So yes, Bruno's been playing on the side that's had a horrid season, but he still managed to rack up 15 goals and 11 assists, and he's been at the centre of those big moments. With his attitude on the pitch, he's kept us going in the very low points of this season. So give Fernandes all his due as well. So hopefully we'll start seeing winning more trophies under his captaincy as well, because I think that's what he deserves for what he's given to Manchester United as well.
Dan, you said to me just a moment ago about the penalties and all of that sort of thing. Do you know who Bruno Fernandes has scored the most goals against in his Manchester United career?
Trying to think now. Trying to think who he loves. I know he loves a goal against.
There's a reason why I'm mentioning it. Because you said he missed the penalty against
Villa.
That's who it is. He scored 7 goals in 10 appearances against them. So there you go. He's that penalty, if he'd have scored it, just made it 8, which would have meant he'd have scored 10% of all of his goals for Manchester United against Aston Villa. But he's not quite there. So I say that really just to stick up for him, because he might not have scored the penalty against Martinez, but he's battered him with so many others. So just threw that one in there. Dan wants to make a goal. Stunning, wasn't it?
It wasn't bad, was it? I just want to throw in some more stats, to be honest, to back up Fernandes. So I've seen lots of different ones knocking around the internet, and my favourite is that no player other than Salah has more goals and assists than him since Bruno Fernandes came to the Premier League, which is absolutely mad, by the way, because Salah's a winger / striker, and Fernandes is an old style cam.
And I'm sorry, in the team you're in.
Yeah, and he's been at Man United for a struggle, and Mo Salah's been at Liverpool for the best team in the Premier League history. debatable. So, in response to this, Man City fans let me find it. Bruno appearances 156 in the Premier League. Kevin De Bruyne appearances 101. So Fernandes has had 55 more games. Right, so not only is he a better creator than De Bruyne and a better goal scorer than De Bruyne and a better assist than De Bruyne, he also has the ability to stay fit to the tune of near over a full season more in the time that Fernandes has been in the Premier League. He's been available. So not only do the stats back him up, the goals back him up, the assists back him up, his fitness record's incredible. I think he's missed one game for us. One game the entire time he's been here. And he's playing with broken hands. And we're going to question his desire and driving captain. It's mental. I've said for ages he's the best player at the club by a distance. And I would keep him. If Ten Hag wants to sell him, I'm at the point where you back the manager. Fair enough. I'll back him because he's making the decisions that he thinks is going to take the club to the next level. So if you're going to get 70, 80 million for Fernandes, 100 million or whatever, so be it. Like, if that's what you want to do, I'll back the manager. Wouldn't agree with it, but I'm going to back the manager. You have to start a new build with Bruno Fernandes in the team. And there's another one knocking around. So the most PL goals, Premier League goals, since Bruno made his debut, the person in first is a winger, and then it's a striker, winger, striker. So the first five are a winger or a striker. Then it's Bruno Fernandes in sixth. And then from 7 to 15, they're all strikers and wingers. So that tells you how many goals he's putting in. And then someone will pop up in a minute and they'll say, yeah, but penalties. Yet we're lauding Carlton Palmer for his season this season.
Who?
9 of his... Palmer.
Carlton Palmer. He's back.
He can't have come out of retirement, Dan. No chance.
But then we're saying he's absolutely fantastic, and he scored 9 penalties this season, 10 penalties this season, which is you've still got to put the penalties away. I think Bruno Fernandes is absolutely sensational. And even if you go away from your goal and assist, which I do think glorify some players, if you look at his big chances created, and stuff like that in games, it's absolutely massive. We don't win games normally if Fernandes doesn't show up. We tend to win them if he does show up. We just need to, and I still genuinely think he's being wasted in this system. We need to get him in a position like yesterday where we keep the possession well and we have him at the top end of the pitch, and that's where he should be. Solskjaer put him there. He was absolutely sensational there. So if we can keep him there, even better. But yeah, what a finish.
David guessed Everton earlier on. It was a good guess, Dave. To be fair, he scored the third most amount of goals against Everton. It was Villa, then Leeds, of course. He loved to go against Leeds with 6, and it's currently Everton with 5. So yeah, you weren't far off. Beanie, I mean, we can all score a goal like that with our left foot, can't we?
It was special, wasn't it? The effortlessness of it though as well. I love that. I love that good players, like you just know a good player when it looks effortless, don't you? And yeah, pings it in. He's quality. I love Bruno. His quality. We should appreciate what we've got with him because we haven't got many. We haven't got anyone else. So we should appreciate what we've got there.
No, I agree. Twilumber's still coming back. I'm not questioning his desire and passion. I do sometimes, but today I'm just criticising his gameplay. I think you must be a distant relative of Stevie Wonder, mate, because honestly, there's no way that we can have a go at his gameplay. Like I said, by far, the best player we have got at this football club.
He does. I understand what people say about him. He does try a lot of Hollywood balls, and he does try the risky ball. And when you've got him sat a little bit deeper, that has a bigger effect on the team. If we can get him up to the point where he's losing the ball on the 18-yard box, it's not as bad. If he's losing it in midfield, it's worse.
You need that.
You need that player to take a risk.
Maverick, but you need a player who's going to try something different. It's no good just trying the same sideways forward pass. You need someone who's going to try and who's going to have that risk. You look at what Ronaldo was like when he first started. He lost the ball quite a lot. But if we hadn't allowed him to grow and develop and do what he wanted to do by taking a risk, he wouldn't have ended up becoming one of the greatest players in the world ever to be produced. If you curtail that and you cut that away, you take away what's special about them. Eric Cantona, another perfect example. Yeah, he'd have games where he wouldn't necessarily affect the game, but equally, you could never clip his wings because if you did that, you took away from him as a player. And I just think Bruno's the same. He's going to have that same issue. If you try and cut his wings a little bit and stop him from playing the way he should play, you take away his creativity, and as a result, you're just not going to get the same Bruno Fernandes. And that's the same for anyone. You've got to let them fly to their strengths. And speaking of strengths, Rasmus Højlund, the 2-yard tapping merchant, how good was it, Beanie, to see him get on the team sheet again?
It was good. I think he needs goals. He's looked a little bit out of sorts to me since he's come back from his injury. Whether it's confidence thing.
Who passed the ball?
It was Bruno, weren't it, again, I believe?
Bruno Fernandes. I didn't know that.
But I think he needs goals. He needs a bit of confidence, I think. But I've never had any doubts that he can score goals, Rasmus. I just think, yeah, he needs the service, and I think he just needs a bit of a confidence boost every now and again. But he loves it, doesn't he, when he scores as well? I mean, that was what, a yard out, 2 yards out? He's like he just scored in the FA Cup final, weren't it, when he went up to Bruno? It's like, yeah, I love all that. I love it.
No, absolutely, and that's what he needed, wasn't it? He needed that goal because he was on an absolute crest of a wave, got a little injury. Then when he came back, was expected to pick up where he left off, and that's always tricky because you've had a bit of a break. You're not quite as buoyant as perhaps you have been due to the fact you've had a number of games where you've scored him. Now that he's done that, you'd sort of fancy him to go into the game against Burnley and maybe nick another one now, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say Bruno will rightly get all the plaudits for last night's performance, but I think Rasmus can be quietly pleased with his own efforts. You know, I think that was his scoring his first non-penalty goal since he got 2 against Luton back in February. So I think at the end of the game, when the final was blown, he leapt out from the seat in the dugout and went straight to Ten Hag and shake his hand. So it was just like, yeah, it's just, I always think with Højlund, give him the service, give him those balls in it, and he will score, which across the season he's been lacking at times. And obviously, he's going to have, I think, hopefully going into next season as well, there's someone alongside him because we can't put all that pressure on him, just, score every single goal. We're going to have to share the load out because we just don't want him burning out. But I just think it's been, like I say, a bit of an up and down season for Højlund as well, and he's been finding his feet as well. So, but yeah, it's good to see him back amongst the goals. So hopefully on Saturday we might be chipping in with a few more against Burnley. But yeah, good to see.
For sure. Dan, anything to add on Rasmus?
Yeah, wasn't happy with his performance at all.
Actually, glad you mentioned that, because I can remember a little tweet about 60 minutes in going, I hope this is a jinx.
Jinx. And it was.
But
and it worked.
Taken off.
Yeah. No, honestly, I don't want to be overly critical because he's only 20. But there's this. See, this is the narrative I'm talking about with almost no service. He's missed 15 big chances this season, which is about 5th in the Premier League. He's had chances, he's missed them, and he's missed them quite readily. I get that he's not had as many chances of maybe, like, not Darwin Núñez on like 28 big missed chances, which, like, a Liverpool team obviously creates more. But there's times where, and we've seen it over the last couple of games, McTominay is actually making a better striker's run than Højlund.
How do you count a missed chance?
Well, I'm assuming, like, for example, one I would assume would be when he got the ball in the box and he didn't shoot when he could have shot, and it's a big chance because if he would have shot, he would have scored. He's had quite a few where the ball will come into the box. He's either just not in the right place or he gets it wrong, or he does get more chances than I thought he did, but there is this narrative going around that he doesn't get loads of chances. I'm not saying he gets loads, but he gets enough that his goal tally should be a little bit higher. But then again, he's 20. And I do feel sorry for him. I feel like the club's let him down because he shouldn't be Man United's main man this season. And I don't think it was ever intended. Who?
Just entered the Hall of Fame.
Andy Cole.
What was it they used to say about him, Andrew? He needs about 9 shots before he scores a goal. He must have had about 10,000 shots then. He must have been
I do feel sorry for him because he is in a team that doesn't create as many chances as he should. And I'm not just going to have a go at Oyland here. Garnacho was so frustrating yesterday in terms of, yes, he was one of the better players on the pitch and he did a lot of running and he's always given the effort that you want to see from a player. But his decision-making yesterday was infuriating. There's times that you should hit the byline and cross because Hoyland's made a good run and no one spotted him. And then he'd shoot. But then when he should shoot, he's trying to cross. And I'm just like, but it'll gel eventually. You've got to give him time. But I do think that Hoyland needs to force the issue a little bit. I can remember saying very similar before he had that little purple patch that you needed to get on the ball more and get in the games a little bit more, not just drift. And he did, and he started getting in thingy. And I thought he was quite fitting, actually. Fernandez set him up because there was the rumours going around that they'd fell out and Fernandez had backed Dallo over something and Hoyland was angry he never passed to him and stuff like this. So it's quite fitting they scored together. But I genuinely thought
Ahmad York didn't like each other either.
Ahmad yesterday, again, looked better than all of the front three at one point. I want to see a little bit more from them in terms of they've got to be improving the decision making in what they're doing. I do feel sorry for Hoyland, but he's just as bad as Garnacho was in terms of playmaking and stuff. He's got to get the ball, pass it a little bit more, be more involved. Yeah, I wasn't like super disappointed with him. I'm like I say, I didn't think he did enough, but I was really happy that my jinx worked and he scored because you can see how much it means to him to play for Man United.
You can, you absolutely can. It was Cole and Sheringham, not Cole and York.
Yeah, they didn't.
I would say Cole and York loved each other.
Yeah, weren't big fans of each other, but they did incredibly well for the club. And there you go. And speaking of the youth of it, Dan mentions that there, and actually that is quite a thing, isn't it? You know, Rasmus hasn't played for a big club or in a big league in the manner that he is at the moment. Garnacho's come through new, so he's not played at this level yet. So it is a bit of a proving ground at the moment. Not every youngster can hit the ground running a bit like Wayne Rooney did. You've got to be super, super special to be able to do that. And they're really quite rare that you would get that. But I bring the youth up, obviously, Beanie, because Ethan Wheatley got his 9 minutes of fame. And it's time for another Twilumber. Actually, he did put this out. Glad Rasmus scored, seeing how hard it's been for him. I wonder if he'll get any better, or is this it? And obviously, Dan's just alluded to that. But also mentioned about this. Would you like to have seen more academy players like Amas? He's been in about 4 match day squads and no minutes, but Wheatley's got 9 minutes already. And, you know, I suppose it's a fair point that he's making there. But what I would ask and what I would say about it is, again, it just comes down to just such an unbelievable record and something that I think every United fan should be rightly proud of. The fact that since 1937, we're getting on for 100 years. You know, please, I'll still be knocking about to see that, because the 100th anniversary of having a match day squad that has included an academy player, it is going to be quite a celebration, I think, because it just shows part of what Manchester United are all about. And this is before you get to the likes of the Busby Babes. You know, everybody seems to think that Matt Busby and Jimmy Murphy were the only two people that were interested in having players from Manchester. But we forget the fact you weren't paying £100 million for someone to come over from overseas in 1930s. You know, it wasn't going to happen. So we're in a good situation there. But Ethan Wheatley coming in, I mean, it's not about how well he played. Just how important do you think that legacy of having a youth player in every single squad is?
It's the United way, isn't it? I mean, I think it's, to be fair, like nowadays, modern football, I think it's even more amazing that we've carried on doing that. I know Rashford gives us a little bit of a bye with that most games, but the fact we're seeing people like Wheatley come through, as the guy says, like Amas in the team sheet, so he's going to get a game at some point. Mainu, yeah, I think it's something to be very proud of, and I like the fact that each manager's come in and kind of kept that going as well. Yeah, I love what Bruno said as well, that in those 9 minutes, Bruno tried to find him Did you see that? I love that, and that shows the man that Bruno is as well. It shows he gets knocked for being a captain every now and again, but that shows a different side of him, which I like. But yeah, I think the youth setup that United have, it's the United way, and it's something we should never lose because it sets us apart from a lot of other clubs.
Andrew, can you imagine ever being the manager that doesn't name a squad now with an academy player in it? Because surely to God, get sacked that day. Because that is going to, I mean, we've had some mad records go now that we're not as good as we used to be under Fergie. But my God, the day that happens, I don't think I want to be on social media that day.
Yeah, I'd say it'd be a very sad day, you know, when we're not naming an academy graduate in the match day squad. So it was a proud moment for Ethan Wheatley's family, the club, and us fans as well to see him come on as well. So I think, was it 24 hours previously, he was winning the Under-18s Premier League Cup, you know, beating City, and we've also won the league as well. So, because when I saw him in the lineup for the Under-18s, I was thinking, oh, he's probably not going to be in the match day squad for Sheffield, but they pulled him off at half time. So I thought, okay, you're going to be in the squad as for the Sheffield United game. And I think Ten Hag said it last night at the game. It's the responsibility to build on the legacy, you know, United's youth graduates after Wheatley's debut as well. So he's been a regular in the under-21s, under-18s. You know, I think he scored a hat trick in the 9-1 victory against Liverpool as well early in the month. So when you've got the likes of Harry Amas, you know, Habiba Agonai, Lewis Jackson also being named in the matchday squads after impressing in the youth teams as well. So it's what United have been known for, the stream of academy graduates coming in the first team, you know, all the way back, as you say, through the Busby Babes, the European Cup success we've had in 68, 99 and 08 as well. So if you look at the current first team players, Rashford, Mainu, McTominay, Johnny Evans, Tom Eaton, and Amari Forsan as well. You know, they've all progressed through the youth ranks as well. So it's something we'll always be proud of, and long may it continue, because, as you said, it's going to be a sad day when, if a manager ever decides not to name an academy graduate in the matchday squad. But for those 9 minutes, even we was trying not to get too excited, because things he was like, he was just chasing down the ball, trying to think one of the very first ones he gave away far, but I thought, well, at least you're getting stuck in. And then nearly had a moment. I remember Bruno cutting the ball back. If the Sheffield United player hadn't been there, Ethan Wheatley would have had an opportunity to score on his day, and I thought it would have been nice if that had happened. But let's say it was a good 10 minutes. So I'm looking to see a lot more of him in there, hopefully in the next couple of weeks as well. So, and then for many more seasons as well.
In some ways, I'm pleased he didn't score, because the amount of pressure that would have ended up putting on him possibly would have been unreal as well. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's a hectic thing. Quick, get him on.
It just would have been a nice moment. I was just winning. You could tell not just Bruno, you could just tell all the players were trying to get the ball towards him and score as well. So I was like, but let's say, didn't manage to. But you never know when he'll get his opportunity next to do that.
It's an interesting thing. John Commode, hello, welcome back. He goes, honestly, don't think we'll ever see the day where we name a matchday squad of 18 without an academy product. It just won't happen. I hope you're right, because like I say, the manager that does that is going to get absolutely crucified. And then Swillenber, I'm pleased you back this up with what you were trying to say a minute ago, because you said amazing record, but use the academy too, which is literally what naming the academy in the squad would have been. However, thankfully you put this on. Don't bring them on for clutch or last minute stitch. Develop them. And I kind of get that, but that is developing them. You know, we've been spoiled a bit by having Mainu and Garnacho popping up at the time that they have and playing, and even Camboala to a degree. But that's kind of how it goes. You know, you do have to develop them over shorter periods of time and give them, you know, the opportunity to play a few games and pick and choose the ones they're playing in. If you're Willy Camboala, you're really not expecting to start against Liverpool. And the fact that has happened, yes, it's going to help his development, but equally, my God, that's thrown him in at the deep end. Dan, what do you make of what Twillenber's just said to that with regards to our academy players?
I agree, but I agree with Ten Hag in the sense it's got to be deserved, it's got to be earned. You can't just chuck them in willy-nilly to a point. I know I'm a big fan of it, but we have relied on youth this season in Mainu, Garnacho, Willie Kambwala, obviously Wheatley getting his debut, Johnny Evans. It's something that we've got to do. Honestly, if it ever does not happen and if one's not named in the lineup or on the bench or whatever, I think we'd see Super League level riots. I think it would absolutely kill the fan base. It would be madness. I'm all for blooding these in the Premier League this season. If Ten Hag in his head thinks this lad's got a chance at this football club, test him this season, give him a chance this season, because yeah, I want to finish as high as possible, but I don't think the Champions League is really a chance in terms of thingy. But even if we can get Europa League, you can use the Europa League next year to try and rotate the squad, give some of the younger players a chance. You know what I mean? You never know. But I'm all for it. Bring Wheatley on against Burnley. Trust him. Show him that he's got a chance. I think I don't count players like Amas. It's weird. I don't know the background to Wheatley or not, but Amas was signed from another club when he was like 15. So I tend not to include them. Like Garnacho was signed when he was 16 from Atletico Madrid. So he is from the academy, but he's not in the same aspect that David Beckham was from our academy, if that makes sense. But I'm still a big fan of seeing it. We've got it's a tradition that we've got to keep doing. And do you know what? There's a lot of players that are coming from that academy that are got a big future if they get the chance. It's just 115 charges make it even more difficult to take that risk with youth than instead of going and buying Harry Kane in the summer, if that makes sense. So I hope we carry on. There you go, Dave in with. Let me put it on the screen. Joined the club at 9 years old. That is a proper academy player. Been there every single thingy. And like I say, he deserved it this season. Under 18s of what? Did they lose one game the entire season? I think it was just one game they lost. They won the cup. They won the league.
Did incredibly well.
Yeah, so he deserves his chance. He deserves his 9 minutes. There was a moment where we was in, and if Fernandez could have got his pass away, Wheatley was in, and he just couldn't get it away. I was so disappointed because I thought, let's see what you're made of. 1-on-1 Premier League, Old Trafford. Are you gonna finish? Are you gonna finish like a season pro, or is it gonna be a scuffed finish? Let me see it. But we just didn't get to. But hopefully we get to see it before the end of the season.
No, for sure. Absolutely that. So there's kind of two bits really that were left over. I did have a little bit of a thing. I'm just going to ask Andrew this one, I think. And again, mainly because you were there. When you look at the actual performance on the day, 72% possession we had. 25 shots, of which 13 of them were on target. 730 successful passes, 4 clear-cut chances, and that can't all be the goals. And we forced their goalkeeper Fotheringham into nine, count them, saves. Now, in contrast, I know it's only Sheffield United, Swillenburg, don't come at me, but they've only had 10 shots. Now, genuinely, when I was thinking of writing this, I genuinely wanted that to be the title. We only conceded 10 shots. And that is with a makeshift defence. Does that just show how bad Sheffield United are? Or was that a better performance from us? Or was it a better performance?
I'd say it was a better performance from us. Okay, yes, we conceded first and then got back in and then conceded again. But I was reading somewhere earlier, it's reported like yesterday afternoon, the new technical director, Jason Wilcox, had given Ten Hag, this is what I would like to see how United play football, more possession base, just not something we've seen much of this season. And I think even was even being dominated by Luton Town as well. But against Sheffield United, there was a clear emphasis, on possession of the ball, and so we were knocking the ball around really well for large parts of the game. Lo and behold, as you said, we didn't concede 30 shots at the goal. Okay, 10s, shouldn't really be conceding 10 shots, but it's coming down. So I think we're practicing some new players in the summer. You know, this new style could reap, you know, real rewards for Ten Hag, and I think it's got to be persisted with as well. So much better performance, but I'm just saying defensively, that's an area we need to sort out a lot of the problems. But once we get that consistency, then we might just start to, fly in games, and see the, United, coming to their true selves.
Fair enough. And so the last little bit really was about Ahmad and Anthony, as Dan had mentioned earlier on. So both Andys, he was very intrigued in what you had to say about the Ahmad and Anthony situation. Where do you sort of stand on it, Andy? Because Amad Diallo has single-handedly thrown a grenade into Liverpool's dressing room, and they've just absolutely imploded. Like, their entire season has just gone to pot ever since he trickled that ball past the goalkeeper and into the corner. To be honest, the more I watch that goal back, the more I can understand why it's done it to him, because that never should have gone in, but it did. And he's done that, but Anthony contributed on that very same game. You know, it's all about Ahmad, but Anthony scored his first ever, I think, with his first ever touch with his right foot. So where do you sort of stand on the debate that Dan was talking about with Ahmad and Anthony?
For me, Ahmad's got to be getting minutes. He looks more threatening when he comes on the pitch. He looks probably more threatening, as Dan said earlier, than majority of our forward players at the minute. He offers something a little bit different. I think he's a bit more direct as well, whereas Garnacho tends to look for the shot a lot instead of the pass. Ahmad looks like he wants to be taking the defenders on, taking them into the box. So I think he offers something a little bit different. But I think it screams out that Anthony is a Ten Hag favourite. I think whenever he can put Anthony on the pitch, I think he will. But I think we can all see it when Ahmad comes on. He offers more. He offers. Was it Coventry? He came on. He came on against Coventry, didn't he? And there was something he did in the middle of the park where he just spanned the midfielder, and we was off on the attack straight away. It's just little glimpses like that Anthony just doesn't do. Anthony's so predictable. He must be very easy to defend against. But it's another thing for me, for Ten Hag. It's a very frustrating thing that Ten Hag doesn't, whether he doesn't see it or whether it's stubbornness that he wants to play his boy. But yeah, for me, Ahmad needs to get minutes. Otherwise, we're going to end up losing him, I think.
Andrew, you've seen the pair of them. Who's better, Ahmad or Anthony?
At the moment, Ahmad, yeah, because I just think, like I say, Ten Hag opted to choose Anthony over Ahmad last night. I was like,
I'm gonna jump in there because you said at the moment, Ahmad. Well, now, what I mean by that is, if you go back to last season, you saw Anthony all throughout the season. Was there points during last season, which we've all agreed was a good season? Did you look at Anthony and think he was the answer? He was perfect for the position he was playing in? Or did you think that, an upgrade could be needed? Because we know that Ahmad was off on loan doing incredibly good things. Sunderland absolutely adored him. He had a great time there. We've spoken to Graham Falk on this channel about him. One of our best watch shows was his loan watch. And we know how good he was doing. So I'm not jumping on you for saying now, but just to open it up wider, where do you make it on that? Do you just think that he is eclipsing what Anthony can do, or do you saying that you think Anthony's got more in the tank and could still be better than Ahmad?
I think both players can get better. I think Anthony, we've not seen the very best of him. I mean, last season he was good. This season he's been up and down, and I think like last night as well. I think it's happened even on the left hand side. We got like sometimes getting the ball into the box. Like Anthony will cut back and pass it around. I'm just like, put the ball into the box. Hoyland's standing there waiting for something. Like he's waiting for the ball to get either delivered to his feet or he can header the ball in. I'm just like, just start doing more of that as well. I'm just thinking, Ten Hag decided to start Anthony over Ahmad, and he was, faced a lot of criticism on the weekend against, for his celebration, which I mean, Coventry fans were giving it as well. So Anthony was like, he said, I'm defending the club I play for. And of course, I'm going to do something. So, yeah, so Anthony only managed 55 minutes last night. But Diallo came on, he impressed with his second half cameo. And yes, he struggled through first 10 minutes. But he's shown his raw quality on the pitch at times. So I think both players can get better as well. They both can push each other on as well. I'm just thinking it'll be interesting on Saturday who he decides to go with, because I've got a feeling, well, I prefer he start. I might give him a chance in the give him a start as well and see how he does. But I just
Do you agree with Beanie? Do you think if we don't start giving him some game time that we might lose him? And if so, would that be a really bad thing for us?
Do
you think he's vital to the rebuild?
It'll be interesting what happens in the summer. Who comes in, what positions, and how Ahmad feels about it, whether it's in his position or Ahmad's and Anthony's position. It's just like, it's going to be an interesting summer. I just think I'd rather keep Ahmad, but does that mean Anthony goes as well? Because if Anthony goes, we're never going to get the 80 million we spent on him, and it's all reported.
Andrew Ward, are you running for Parliament?
Am I?
Are you running for? Because that was an incredibly good politician's answer.
Yeah.
All the way around the block there with, well, I'd like to keep Ahmad, but Anthony's quite a good player as well. Is Ahmad vital for our rebuild? Do we need him? Or is he? Because, and again, I'll context it. Because Dan was talking about Bruno and Harry Maguire. And with both of those players, he said we could just go and get more money for them, basically, because they're at their peak of their powers, potentially. And I sit here and wonder, I kind of get what he's saying, but you also sit there and think, let's say we got 150 million. By the way, listening to TalkSport, I think if they sell Mohamed Salah, who's about 74 years old with a walk-in frame, that they're going to get 150 million for him. I can't see a 32-year-old going for 150 million. But let's say we get 150 million for the pair of those two. Where that money goes, because for us, we pay the Man United tax anyway. Are we going to get players in? Are we going to get a number of players in? Are we just going to get one player in and then we've sort of lost a player? So for me, you've got to keep Bruno, you've got to keep Harry, because they've got the right attitude and they've got the ability to go there. I'm not fussed about the money. The money's up to Jim Ratcliffe now to put his money up and say, I'm going to help to put this team where it needs to be. You can make your money. Is Ahmad the sort of player where you start to try and make your money and get sort of 30, 40 million potentially for him, and then move on from there?
Right, in answer to your, yes. Yeah. If I was looking in 4 or 5 years ahead, who do I still see out of them two being there? It would be Ahmad, I think. Yeah. So it would be Ahmad for me. There, I've said it. Straight answer.
Lovely. Any truth in that?
No, and I wouldn't stand for the Labour Party. So
wow, let's get away from the politics.
Okay, all political.
He's all about the Stourbridge Workers' Party. That's where he is. Terrible, terrible things happening at Stourbridge. That's just atrocious. What a club that is. Right, let's take a look at the end of the show, because that's pretty much where we are, to be fair. I don't think Dan's got anything to add on it, since that was his question. He's already said what he had to say. So that's all good. Lovely. So there we go. That is the end of another show. Give it 24 hours and we'll be finishing off yet another show. And in 48 hours, we'll be finishing off yet another show, because these games, they come thick and fast at the end of the season. It's absolutely mad. Tomorrow night, we will be here. We've already got one person booked in to join. I presume Dan's coming on. I'm sure he probably will be. Yeah, he's on. Excellent. So joining Dan and I, we've definitely got the return of Matt Morgan from last week. So he will be joining us, and he was a very good contributor yesterday. So he'll be there. And we are looking for one more. We'll find them, don't worry. Possibly a Burnley fan. But if they don't exist, we'll just get another United fan on, because that's what we're here for. Beanie, thanks for joining us. Do you want to give your TikTok a shout out, mate?
Yeah, I've got it written down this time. Because I forgot it last time, didn't I? So it's MUFC Beanie 7. Yeah, if you like United talk, having a few digs at the Scousers, come over, give me a follow. It's all fun and games.
Absolutely, I'd forgotten that you'd forgotten that. It was comedy gold, that one. Loved it. And of course, Andrew Wall's going to be there as well. Can we just take a moment as well, just for a little round of applause for Andrew Wall, because every now and again he just sends us through some lovely little photos and some videos and things like that, and that's what goes onto Twitter for you guys to see. So well done, Andrew. Thank you very much for all of your contributions there. If people wanted to see anything you might have posted firsthand, whereabouts can people find more of you?
Obviously, there's my Twitter or X handle, whatever they call it now. So that's where you can find me. And also post all my photos from the games I go to on my Instagram as well. So you can find me on there.
You still doing any writing anywhere? Can people read any of your stuff, or do you not do so much of that anymore?
Stretford Paddock as well. So
Stretford Paddock, you say we do like Stretford.
Yeah, just a name drop there.
Excellent news. And of course, if you want to see Dan, just come back tomorrow, basically. And he'll be there, quite happily sat there, fighting a man cold. So there we go. He's a very important man. He's definitely going to have to push end stream as ever. I already know it's going to go wrong. So there we go. But it's been brilliant. Well done. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone in the chat as well. Also superb. Brilliant to have you on here. Keep liking and subscribing. Come and follow these guys. They're all absolute legends. And we will see you in less than 24 hours time to have a little chat about whether or not we can take Vincent Kompany and try and send him down to the championship as well. See you later.